Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, former President Donald Trump quickly criticizing the latest indictment against him for his actions related to the 2020 election. We're going to hear about his reaction and what other Republicans are saying as well. It is the latest flashpoint in presidential politics. American support for the war in Ukraine. We're going to take a look at how it is dividing the Republican presidential contenders. A special session on gun control coming up in Tennessee after the shooting at a Christian school in Nashville earlier this year. We're going to have reactions from both parties. And our Studio 5 conversation with country singer and songwriter Coffey Anderson, who's now trying his hand in the world of acting in a new film from PureFlix called God's Country Song. All those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Let's begin this half hour with former President Donald Trump firing back after facing a third criminal indictment. His latest legal battle was revealed Tuesday afternoon when a Washington, D.C. grand jury decided to move forward with an indictment after spending months considering evidence of possible criminal actions by the former president in the weeks after the 2020 election. Trump's campaign is slamming the charges as politically motivated. Here's CBN News White House correspondent Abigail Robertson.
Special counsel Jack Smith announced the indictment of Donald Trump on 4 federal charges related to his actions after the 2020 election. Smith charges that Trump knew he lost the election, but he was, quote, determined to remain in power.
Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment.
The 4 counts include conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights.
In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens.
The 45-page indictment accuses Trump of enlisting 6 unnamed co-conspirators to, quote, assist him in his criminal efforts to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election by creating fraudulent slates of electors in 7 states. Prosecutors claim Trump knowingly repeated false claims of election fraud and made them appear legitimate, creating an intense atmosphere of mistrust and anger, culminating in the deadly riot at the Capitol on January 6th. In a statement, Trump's campaign claims this is nothing more than the latest corrupt chapter in the continued pathetic attempt by the Biden crime family and their weaponized Department of Justice to interfere with the 2024 presidential election.
We've never had a situation where a spirited debate about the Constitution has become a criminal case. What's going to happen when there's a Republican administration? Is there going to be an effort to criminalize speech by Democrats?
Trump's attorney John Lauer argues Trump's claims are protected under the constitutional right to free speech.
If we're going to have a situation where the Department of Justice is going to fact-check politicians and indict politicians for political speech and whether or not they're factually accurate, then this country will shut down politically because it's a never-ending cycle of tit for tat. And that's the risk of injecting politics into the criminal justice system.
The indictment also includes notes from calls between former Vice President Mike Pence and Trump, showing the president wanted his VP to reject electoral votes on January 6th. Pence, who's now running against Trump, saying anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. In a post on X, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Trump's strongest rival for the Republican nomination, said the indictment shows the power of federal government is being politicized, writing, "One of the reasons our country is in decline is the politicalization of the rule of law. No more excuses. I will end the weaponization of the federal government." Trump will return to D.C. Thursday for his arraignment at a federal courthouse. The judge assigned to the case has handed out 2 of the longest prison sentences for Capitol rioters thus far. Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
One of the major issues in the presidential campaign has become America's support for the war in Ukraine. Now it's a potential litmus test for Republican candidates. And already there are clear divisions. CBN chief political analyst David Brody is on this story.
Typically, Republican presidential candidates court evangelicals by talking about their faith or socially conservative issues like abortion and others. And while that still is happening today, the war in Ukraine has sort of flipped the GOP script. It has now become a litmus test. Candidates who take a more hawkish viewpoint have become the minority this time around. Just ask former VP Mike Pence, who faced tough questions from Tucker Carlson at a recent evangelical forum in Iowa.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, have you, I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. Anybody that says that we can't be the leader of the free world and solve our problems at home has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both.
It's a subject that's clearly not going away and will force some soul-searching among certain candidates. Not only did Carlson reflect the changing Republican base, Pence, once an evangelical hero, heard boos and received no applause. He, along with GOP presidential contenders Tim Scott and Nikki Haley, represent a more traditional neoconservative approach, something Haley addressed in an interview with CBN News.
Russia's not going to stop at Ukraine. They're going to go into Poland and the Baltics, and we've got a world war on our hands. We have to make sure we send a message to every enemy that if you mess with our friends, you're messing with us, and you don't want to do that.
Those views follow the Ronald Reagan model in terms of embracing a robust overseas strategy in order to protect America.
We in America have learned bitter lessons from 2 world wars. It is better to be here ready to protect the peace than to take blind shelter across the sea, rushing to respond only after freedom is lost. We've learned that isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments with an expansionist intent.
That interventionist mindset continued through 9/11 with tough talk by George W. Bush against countries like Iraq, Iran, and North Korea.
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world. Back
then, Americans saw the invasion of Iraq and the start of the war on terrorism in Afghanistan. In 2001, 96% of Republicans supported that war in Afghanistan. Oh, how times have changed. 20 years later, just 43% of Republicans saw that as a war worth fighting, signaling a growing move toward isolationism. After 9/11, 23% of Americans wanted less foreign involvement. Today, that number is at 30%. And within the GOP, a whopping 71% want the U.S. to focus on problems at home rather than overseas. When Donald Trump entered the picture with his America First agenda in 2015, the GOP base joined the move against foreign intervention. That's resulted in a new guard of presidential candidates joining Trump, including Ron DeSantis and political newcomer Vivek Ramaswamy.
I don't believe in beating around the bush on this. I don't think we should be spending more money in Ukraine. The top job of the U.S. military, who would have ever thought, is to protect U.S. soil.
David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Over the weekend, former President Donald Trump linked aid to Ukraine to the congressional investigation into the Biden family's business activities. He said Congress should not authorize any more weapon shipments to Ukraine until the Department of Justice and the IRS turn over evidence of what he calls corrupt family business dealings. Well, now here's a look at some of the other stories we're following for you at this hour in the CBN Newsroom. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt has signed a bill defining the words male and female for state agencies to correspond with a person's birth gender. The order also includes the definition for the words man, boy, woman, girl, father, and mother. Democrats have blasted the move, one calling it polarizing and government overreach. But Stitt said, today we are taking a stand against the out-of-control gender ideology that is eroding the very foundation of our society. The Fitch rating service has downgraded the federal government's credit rating, pointing to rising debt at the federal, state, and local levels and what it is called a steady deterioration in standards of government over the past 2 decades. And it is not just the government that is hurting. CNBC reports that 61% of U.S. adults say they are living from paycheck to paycheck. That is according to a new survey from the Lending Club. Coming up, a special session will be coming soon to Tennessee State Legislature, dealing with the issue of gun control after the shooting at a Christian school earlier this year. We're going to hear what Republicans and Democrats have to say about what could happen when we come back. Stay with us. Lawmakers in Tennessee will soon take on the issue of gun control. GOP Governor Bill Lee called for a special legislative session after the mass shooting at a Nashville Christian school that happened back in March. As Charlene Aaron reports, the spotlight is now on Lee and the Republican-led legislature.
State lawmakers will gather here in the state capitol on August 21st to focus on solutions for keeping Tennessee communities safe. While some are applauding the Republican governor's commitment to tackle gun reform, members of his own party are blasting the decision. The session is in response to the Covenant School shooting, where a former student killed 6 people, 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults, 2 of whom were friends of the governor's wife. One Republican lawmaker calls it a publicity stunt and urges the governor to cancel it. In a letter, Tennessee Representative Brian Ritchie writes to Lee that the General Assembly can further consider and discuss legitimate measures to improve public safety when the legislature convenes in January 2024. Democrat State Representative Gloria Johnson, who met with parents who protested at the state capitol following the shooting, says now is the time to act and praises the governor's move.
Sounds like he wants to try and prevent kids from dying in their classroom and folks from dying in a restaurant, and is willing to come to the table.
Johnson says Tennesseans from both sides of the political aisle are seeking a way forward.
There are smart things we can do, but I think the biggest right now are red flag laws.
Representative Jason Zachary and other Republicans see it as something of a non-starter.
You look at the makeup of the legislature within Tennessee, and just take the House, for example, there's 99 members in the House, 75 Republicans were a supermajority. And the vast majority of our caucus are not in support of red flags, are not in support of order of protections.
Local faith leaders also hope for change.
Of the Covenant School shooting in my own home, I know that I cannot be quiet and I cannot stand idly by. Life is precious.
Brent Leatherwood, a member of Southern Baptist Convention leadership and father of 3 children who survived the tragedy, wrote to lawmakers insisting they take action. More than a dozen pastors have signed on, including Pastor Nathan Parker of Nashville's Woodmont Baptist Church, which served as the reunification center after the shooting.
We say we believe in life and we work to preserve life. But yet when the #1 killer of children is firearms and we don't take action to preserve life, it's seen as inconsistent. And it is inconsistent. It's hypocritical.
These are children. And many innocent people are losing their lives. This is not about gun control. This is about protecting people's lives.
Meanwhile, as the eyes of the nation look on, Representative Zachary is calling on believers to pray as the gun debate plays out.
It's going to be a hot August day. Tensions can rise. We need to pray that cooler heads prevail and there is a sense of peace, that the Holy Spirit literally descends and brings peace.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News, Nashville, Tennessee.
Country singer and songwriter Coffey Anderson, who is now trying his hand at acting. He's playing in the new film from PureFlix. It's called God's Country Song. Plus, a new reality show. We're going to hear about his new projects right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The new PureFlix film, God's Country Song, is streaming right now, and country singer and songwriter Coffey Anderson is in the film, trying his hand at the world of acting. You may already know him for making a name for himself in the music world and several music competition shows. He's also in the Netflix reality show, Country Ever After. Take a look.
Let's make him feel welcome. It's Noah Bryan. All right, everybody say no Brian on three. No Brian!
I got some good news. You're opening for Colt Young.
What was it about the story that drew you in?
Everything. Everything about the story. I think redemption. I think the prodigal son aspect of Noah coming back. Country music, of course. I mean, twist my arm to be in a movie about country music. And the Lord.
Do you know how big this is for us? I think we should celebrate.
There's no drinking on this tour.
You gotta stay humble. Pride always comes before the fall. I've seen it before, know what I'm talking about, all right?
We got this, man.
Who is Colt Young?
Colt Young is an accomplished country music singer. And Colt Young is successful, runs his business his own way. But he has an opportunity to reach down to Noah Bryant, give Noah a chance.
How true to life is that for you?
In a lot of ways, very true. A lot of ways, very true. I think for the brand that I have, singing country music, also being a very outspoken Christian, there's accountability, there's certain songs I want to release and I can't, and they're jamming. The beat is jamming. But it's not the content that we agree with.
But the song that did it for you
was Mr. Red, White, and Blue.
Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes.
We were giving a home away to a combat veteran, tax-free, mortgage-free with military warrior support. And when the national anthem played, there was a different look in his eye than everybody else in the room. And that look in his eye, I put my guitar on and started strumming, and I felt like the Lord gave me that song in 10 minutes. Boom. Nobody wanted to touch it. We put it out independent. It went crazy.
For these stars and stripes, marching line, marching line.
What's the musical journey been like? You talk about
started out
those
acoustic.
coming before you.
Started out acoustic, just playing campfire worship, helping out at my local church, singing for Jesus. At my university, which was Howard Payne University, Southern Baptist, with a D, Southern Baptist. And just started strumming and humming. They asked me to come sing at chapel. I did that. Next thing I know, there was an overweight guy sitting down. We were at sound check. And he's like, I said, hey, you singing tonight? He goes, yeah, me too. I said, okay. I said, what are you singing? He goes up on stage, sits at the piano, goes, I can only imagine. So 30 days after ever picking up the guitar, I opened up for Mercy Me at my college. I don't know. I know that my steps have been ordered, and that's all you can say. For someone to come from 11 acres in Bangs, Texas, brokenhearted from losing his mama. Daddy had to work to keep us going. Picked up a guitar and it's turned into this.
I'm BLESSED, alive and well in the land of the free. I ain't rich, but I got everything I need.
How does a black man end up singing country music?
I plugged my guitar in and stood behind a mic.
Here, let the good Lord handle the rest. Man, I'm blessed.
I think for me, my granddad sang in gospel quartets with the Dixie Hummingbirds.
I know the Dixie Hummingbirds very well.
Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers. And there were some places that he couldn't sing because of segregation. Well, I grew up listening to him sing in church, but he also watched Hee Haw. He also listened to the Opry on the radio and loved it and sang with them. So I didn't see a difference. I didn't know what he had went through when he was younger performing. And I went to a county fair in Bangs, Texas, the Brown County Fair, and rodeo, and they had a band playing on a flatbed trailer. So I was like, I want to do that.
Then I let the good Lord handle the rest. Man, I'm blessed.
Playing this country guitar and singing with this gospel voice. I mean, now we're at almost 1 billion streams, I think a black man just has to pick up a guitar and stand by the mic.
God's Country Song is available right now on the PureFlix platform. For more compelling entertainment news, be sure to catch Studio 5 tonight. We're taking a look at the theatrical stage play based on the life of Corrie ten Boom. It is called The Hiding Place. Well, it is now on film for all to see. Their efforts to save Jewish refugees during World War II. We're chatting with the star of the production, the writer, and the director. You can catch it all on Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel tonight. Begins at 8:30 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Coming right back with an encouraging word for your day ahead. Stay with us. It is time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is purpose. Here's a truth you all need to know. The presence of pain doesn't always mean the absence of purpose. There's purpose in all that you experience, good and bad. Rest easy, even in times of trouble, and know that God is working it all out. He's doing it for your good and for His glory. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I'll remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us. The address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are looking forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.